Hello, I'm Michelle Agudelo.
And I'm Tyler Raines. Today is March 28th. President Trump's health care plan was pulled before it made it to the floor for a vote. Ashika Sachdev is here to explain what went wrong. She's live in the newsroom with details. Ashika?
Thanks, guys. It's all anyone's been talking about, health care. The Republicans' plan to replace Obamacare backfired. House Speaker Paul Ryan canceled a vote on the GOP bill that would have replaced Obamacare. That's because he just didn't have enough votes. Republicans needed 215 votes to pass the repeal. President Trump told journalists that they were 10 to 15 votes short, so it failed. The bill drew opposition from all sides. Liberals were worried about millions of people losing insurance, the public were concerned about the rising costs to seniors, and conservatives were opposed to government subsidies. That was the killer. Here were the deal breakers. They were cutting off coverage for maternity, pregnancy, and newborn care, cutting Medicaid coverage, and cutting coverage for people with pre-existing medical problems. Republicans said this about the failed plan.
I think you can't expect to try to solve a problem that addresses 1/6 of the country's economy and touches every American in a very personal and intimate way in 18 days. You know, when the Democrats came to power in 2009, for 60 years at least, they had been pursuing a national health care system. Yet they didn't introduce legislation for 8 months. They didn't pass it for over a year of Barack Obama's first term. I think a more careful and deliberate approach, which we now have time to do, because we're going to have to revisit healthcare anyway, would have gotten us further down the path towards a solution. I believe that both conservatives and moderates in the House made a lot of concessions already.
President Trump isn't going to dwell on this setback, but this rejection may have Republicans rethinking their strategies. I'm Ashika Sachdev here in the newsroom. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Ashika. Pot smokers may soon get a break from the state of Illinois, sort of. That's right, Illinois could become the 9th state to legalize recreational marijuana. Advocates say this would be the perfect way to solve the state's budget crisis. Just last week, 2 Illinois lawmakers introduced a proposal that could generate $350 to $700 million in tax revenue. It would allow residents who are over 21 to possess, grow, or buy up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
Babies, drugs, and guns. When police responded to a call of a man with a gun in the Austin neighborhood, they found more than that. Anthony Kennedy allegedly had a baby stroller with a 1-year-old, a gun, and marijuana. After his arrest, police found Kennedy was also wanted for violations of order of protection, damage to property, and domestic battery. As for the baby, he is now in the care of a relative.
Students are back from spring break, but are not too excited about all this rain. Will Chicago have more rain? Let's ask Summer Diab. Summer?
Chicago will have rain for the majority of this week due to a low pressure system bringing in a lot of moisture in the air, making this week cloudy, foggy, and rainy. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Summer.
It's a crash site you have to see to believe, but we can tell you the driver survived. Part of the semi-truck dangled off of a major expressway. The cab portion of the truck sat on the ground, blocking traffic. The tractor was traveling on the Kennedy Expressway Sunday morning when suddenly it slammed into a wall. Somehow, part of the cab landed on Kimball Avenue and blocked traffic for hours. Fortunately for the driver, witnesses were able to pull him to safety. He is now hospitalized in serious condition.
Chicago public school kids may have an even longer summer ahead of them. Some budget cuts from Springfield are deepening tensions in the CPS union. Reporter Melissa Stevens joins us in the studio with more information about the rumored strike. Melissa.
Thanks, Michelle and Tyler. Tensions are definitely rising in the CPS union. Teachers and parents say they are sick of the budget crisis and are ready to take action.
The rumored strike comes after Governor Bruce Rauner vetoed a $215 million education funding package for the Chicago public schools. Without the funds, CPS may end their school year 3 weeks early.
We need to make plans. These are our children. Are we having school in June or not?
Parents and teachers marched together last week to protest the vetoed package, saying they're sick of Governor Rauner blaming Chicago for the condition of the schools.
The point of a single-day strike is to draw attention, to unite parents, and unite the community to demand revenue to run our schools.
Some students here at Jones College Prep are excited about the possibility of an early end to their school year. Others, on the other hand, are a little concerned about the possible repercussions this may cause.
But since we will be in school for less days than we actually are legally supposed to be, that would take away money from CPS, because then they would actually be fined for those days that we're not in school. So I guess it would actually cause more problems technically.
I just like the idea of not having to be in school as long, so I would say I'm happy with it, but
The CPS union says ending school 3 weeks early will force teachers to take an 8% pay cut. They will vote in April on a potential one-day strike on May 1st. So everybody's really just getting affected by this, for sure.
It's actually pretty unfortunate, the kids and the teachers.
Yes.
Everyone's getting affected by this. It's really unfortunate.
Yes.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Summer Diab.
And I'm Taj Mahal. Today is April 11th. Egypt is in a state of emergency after a terrorist attack that ISIS is claiming responsibility for. The attack, which took place on Palm Sunday, has left Egypt in a period of mourning. Over 40 people were killed in the bombing. The Egyptian government has responded by allocating 100,000 Egyptian pounds for families affected by the attack.
It's one of the worst chemical attacks we've ever witnessed, and now we're learning President Donald Trump's daughter may have influenced his decision. Reports today indicate Ivanka Trump was so heartbroken over the devastation that President launched an attack. Let's take a look now at how the decision has sparked outrage and controversy among some lawmakers. Syrian President Bashar Assad initiated a chemical attack on Syrian civilians, destroying buildings, leaving children and people injured and dead. With Assad's decision, the UN Security Council held an emergency meeting. Nikki Haley, U.S. Ambassador of the United Nations, spoke out saying why Assad did this.
Because he thought he could get away with it. He thought he could get away with it because he knew Russia would have his back.
This attack left the United States outraged. In return, President Donald Trump gave the United States military permission to launch 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles on Syria's El Shairat airfield. Many senators, including Marco Rubio, Chuck Schumer, and Mitch McConnell, all agree with Mr. Trump's decision.
The right move.
I salute the professionalism and skill of our armed forces.
The strike was well planned.
President Donald Trump's action against Syria is supported by key allies. Israel, the UK, Australia, and Saudi Arabia. France and Italy also support his decision.
We were trying to send a message and take out some of the airplanes we believed were involved, but knowing full well we were not going to be able to shut down operations at this airbase.
After the U.S. airstrike, President Trump didn't say much, but he did tweet congratulations to our great military men and women for representing the United States and the world so well in the Syria attack. Expect oil prices to jump by 1.04% due to President Donald Trump's missile strike. Looking at this graph, in the year 2015, oil prices was $2.43. Then in 2016, it decreased to 28 cents. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says retail prices are predicted to average to $2.40 per gallon for 2017.
Now that he is confirmed, what does the future of the Supreme Court look like with Justice Neil Gorsuch?
Promise you that I will do all my powers permit to be a faithful servant of the Constitution and laws of this great nation.
Neil Gorsuch's confirmation is a lifetime appointment, which will undoubtedly be part of President Trump's legacy. Justice Gorsuch, who is known for being a traditionalist, will have his first big case later this month. The case will be involving government and religious organizations.
Just one day after a Cook County judge is shot and killed on his own lawn, area courthouses beef up security to protect other judges. A $25,000 reward is now offered to find the killer of Associate Judge Raymond Miles. His girlfriend was approached outside and shot. That's when Judge Miles ran to see what happened. He was then shot multiple times and died. It's unclear if this was a random act of violence or if the judge was the intended target.
In another violent weekend in Chicago, 3 people are dead and 11 wounded, including a 15-year-old boy. The 15-year-old boy was shot in an alley in the 4200 block of South Wells. Police say the boy was shot in the shoulder and the foot. He was taken to Comer Children's Hospital. He's listed in stable condition.
Chicago drivers, beware of parking tickets. Street cleaning season is officially underway in Chicago. The city temporarily restricts parking on residential streets as crews clean litter and debris. As you might imagine, some drivers are not happy. They say they've been unfairly ticketed for parking in sweeper zones. Some ticketed drivers say they saw no warning signs on the street to indicate they couldn't park there. To avoid a ticket, head to thecityofchicago.org to see when your street is scheduled for cleaning. Street sweeping season runs from April to November.
Good morning, you're watching Newsbeat.
Here's a look at what we're working on today. It is time to hit the polls. It's election day and we'll tell you about one race you should watch.
And in Russia, there's chaos in St. Petersburg, the aftermath of what some are calling a terrorist attack in the Russian city.
Plus, it may be a rainy opening day for the White Sox, but the Southside baseball team starts their season with high hopes. Those stories and more, Newsbeat starts right now.
Good morning. You're watching Newsbeat.
Here's a look at what we're working on today. The lack of funding is having a negative impact on CPS. More on how your kids could be affected.
President Trump does it again. We will tell you which Muslim countries are included in this new travel ban.
What happens when the unwanted guest shows up to a wedding? The new movie Table 19 has a funny idea about this. Newsbeat starts right now.
Chicago turned green once again.
That's right, the city does not fall behind when it comes to celebrations, and St. Patrick's Day is not the exception. When we come back, Gabby Gonzalez will show us the highlights of this celebration.
And could it be? Yes, it is. Northwestern is making March Madness even madder. How the team rose up and broke its bad luck streak.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
We have an update on Judge Raymond Miles' killing. The connection police have found that could prove Judge Miles was not the intended target.
And chaos in a Southside carnival, which should have been a fun night, ends in a big fight.
Heightened alert in Wrigleyville today after a series of violent attacks on the CTA. What police say you can do to stay safe.
Plus, Summer tells us if we need to keep the rain gear handy.